Yo, what's going on guys? So today I'm going to be making a video on the best Warzone settings for mouse and keyboard and also just how to improve on mouse and keyboard. There's going to be tons of different information in this video, so I'm sure everyone who plays mouse and keyboard will be able to take something away from this video. I'm going to break this video up by starting off with keybinds and movement, and then we'll go into sensitivity and aim. So now we're in my keybinds, and I've got two really important things that you guys should be implementing into your keybinds. Overall, your keybinds are going to be preference, but for this behaviors list, I think you should just have them the way I have them. If you don't, you can get into some weird things where slide canceling can become weird. Let's say if you have your slide behavior on hold. As for auto attack sprint, I know every controller pro uses this, but I'm going to show you something that's a little bit better and it's exclusive to mouse and keyboard. And here at the end of the movement tab, you can actually bind a key to your tactical sprint. This makes it so you only have to press shift once to tactical sprint. This way you'll be getting the cracked movement and snappiness of auto attack sprint, but you'll also get the precision of being able to walk around on the map. Just a quick note, the only downside with this is you have to bind your steady aim key to something else. So if you're someone who likes sniping, you'll have to get used to a different steady aim key, but it's definitely well worth it. Now as for all your other keybinds, I only have one more rule where I go by, where I try not to bind anything to my side mouse buttons. Now this might sound kind of weird to you guys, but if you think about it, your thumb provides a lot of stability to your mouse. So if you're having to constantly hit your side buttons and readjust your thumb position, it's going to mess with your aim. And if you're someone who has something bound to your side mouse buttons that you use a lot, you're going to notice you're losing gunfights solely to the reason that you're repositioning your fingers on your mouse. So I know switching your keybinds can be annoying. Basically, it's just going to be worth it to get used to those better keybinds now instead of later after you've already lost those tons of gunfights. So here's the rest of my keybinds. If anyone cares, I'm just going to go through them really quick. And you'll be able to pause if you want to see something in specific. So now to actually work on your movement, I recommend to go into a custom game and load up against bots. Here are the rules for my custom game. A lot of them aren't too important. I do have max health set to 250 so I can kind of get used to the Warzone health. And you can pretty much copy all of this, and when you have it down, you can create a custom mode. That way you don't have to input it every single time, you'll just be able to load it up. So getting into how you should play against these bots, I do this more for movement training and warming up rather than trying to train my aim. So what you should be doing is working on movements that you struggle with and you eventually want to be using in games. So me personally, every time I'm fighting a bot, I try and throw in a slide cancel or a jump. That way I'm actually working on what I'd be using in games. But other than that, there's not really too much to this other than it's just practice. One thing I will say is that you can use this for training your aim, but we're going to get into something that's a little more efficient for aim. So in my last video, I brought up snaking and why it's so broken, and I had a couple people saying that it's kind of difficult to do on mouse and keyboard and they can't really figure it out. I'm going to walk you through everything I'm hitting on my keyboard. And really quick to note, if you are using auto attack sprint, you still have to press your sprint key to be able to do this. So I'm at my piece of cover, and to start off, I hit prone and S, which is prone and back, and then I hit sprint and W, which is just sprinting forward. And if you speed that up, it'll look like this, where the enemy won't be able to see you while you're able to see glimpses of them. So I hope that clears that up, and now we're going to get into aim. Now again, your mouse sensitivity is going to be preference, but I recommend trying to get it as low as possible while still feeling comfortable with your movement. So for me, I like a 400 DPI and a 6.93 mouse sensitivity. I run 180 sense. Now I know this is super low and it's probably going to be way too low for most people, but if you guys are familiar with the sensitivity measurement called centimeter per 360, it pretty much just means the amount of centimeters your mouse has to travel for your character to do a full 360 rotation. There's going to be tons of sensitivity calculators and converters online that you can use to find your centimeter per 360. Mine is a 50 centimeter per 360, and if you guys were wondering, most pros fall into around 28 to 40 centimeter per 360s. So now that that's out the way, we can talk about how to actually train your aim and what I think is the most efficient ways to do it. So I'm going to be talking about Kovacs, and just to get it out the way, you don't have to use an aim trainer like Kovacs if you want really good aim. Now if you ask a professional mouse and keyboard player if they use an aim trainer like Kovacs, they'll probably say no, just because they have tens of thousands of hours in other FPS games over the past like 10 years. So it's up to you whether you want to play FPS games for years and years, or if you want to play Kovacs for a couple months. I used to play tons of sports, so I'm going to use a sports analogy to try and help you guys kind of understand what I'm thinking. So when you think of football practice or basketball practice, do you go to one of those practices and see players just scrimmaging against each other and just playing the game? Or do they do drills to isolate each skill that they need to work on? Now in sports like basketball, you pretty much only scrimmage for maybe 10% of the practice, while the other 90% is doing shooting drills, finishing drills, ball handling drills, things like that. Now I know aiming in esports in general isn't really a sport, but it's still a skill you need to work on, and aim training is just going to be the most efficient way to do it. So now we're in Kovacs. I really quick wanted to show you guys the settings you can use to make it one-to-one with Warzone. So first, sensitivity and FOV. You want to set it to Overwatch, and then from there you can just set it to exactly what you have it on Warzone. This is going to make Kovacs feel the exact same as Warzone feels, so there's not going to be any adjustment period when going from one to another. Now, as for what you should be doing on Kovacs, as you guys can see, there's tons and tons of scenarios. So when I started out aim training, I was doing a lot of these top rated scenarios, and yeah, they're fun and a lot of people do them, but they're not very good for actually getting better aim. So what I've been doing is something called the voltaic routines. Basically what you do is you do each of these tasks, you get your high score, and you find out what ranking you are. So let's say you're new to Kovacs and you end up getting bronze. You would come over here to their aim training routine, and then you would do their bronze routine. Another thing they have is game specific routines, so you can go over here and you can go all the way down to Warzone, and they have a specific routine just for Warzone. A lot of these benchmarks are going to be pretty difficult, especially if you're just starting out. As a point of reference, I'm around Platinum Diamond and I have around 200 hours in Kovacs. So it's definitely not easy, but you will be improving a lot faster than you were before. So I'll make sure I link all that Kovacs stuff down in the description for you guys. So if you guys learned something or found this video really useful, please drop a like, it really helps me out a ton. And subscribe so you don't miss any more Warzone tips like this. But that's all I have for today, so I'll see you guys next time.